It's the only way to be sure.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Inside Your Screen, and we are talking Snowpiercer Episode 4, A Single Trade. Just straight out the gate, Brennan, what were your thoughts?
I didn't really like this episode.
No?
No, I don't know what it was. It was my least favourite episode of possibly the entire show, Series 1 and 2. Just not in this episode. Not a lot happened. Not a lot happened at all.
I was watching it and I was making notes and I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, this is one of those type of episodes where chess pieces are being moved and tertiary characters that you don't normally sort of associate yourself with are being sort of brought into the spotlight. However, the main plot hasn't really moved forward as such, but we do see Miles.
Yeah, we got a few kind of surprises. Well, not massive surprises, but yeah, we got to see Miles, which I wasn't expecting in this episode. You know, things like that just annoy me though, because it's just like, where's he been? He's kind of like was a massively integral character for season 1. He was supposed to be, you know, in the engine, which has been, you know, quite a focal point of the series so far. So has he just been like chilling in his bunk bed?
It's funny because there is a lot of people that have gone online to kind of find out the mysterious whereabouts of Miles. And some people have said that Jalen Fletcher, the actor who plays Miles, has been given a bigger role elsewhere, and he's starring in 8 episodes of Clickbait in 2021. So it seems to me that kind of thing where scheduling sort of conflicts and whatnot. He's been apparently quite elusive on his Twitter account. He just basically, the last one he kind of came out was on February the 2nd. By the time this goes out, that may have changed. But it's basically saying, like, is Miles coming back this season? Inquiry minds are asking. Don't know. Just tune in on Mondays, 9 p.m. So, yeah, to me, it sounds like he's just been given other roles. And whereas he was a prominent figure in the first series, that's kind of being sort of swept to the side, which is a little, for the actual plot, not great, because, you know, he was so integral. And if you're feeling now that Alexandra, who's like an engineer for Big Alice, you know, her role is quite beefy, and there's the emotional contact with Melanie. Like, where's the emotional? What's happened to all the emotional stuff? Because Leyton was basically his father, essentially, in series 1, and now he's just been like dropped to the side. And because of the fact that Zara is pregnant, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to become a father." It's like, dude, you're already a father. Like, what about Miles? It just kind of, I suppose, it kind of smacks in the face of like the audience who got invested, and it's like, well, you're just dropping that. Okay, fair enough. Moving on. You know.
Yeah. I have to be. This was the first episode as well where I kind of questioned Leyton.
In what regards?
We'll get to that.
Let's just do a quick overview. So really, I imagine this episode is really Audrey's one, her time in the spotlight. We knew that there was a past between her and Wilford, but we didn't really know the magnitude of their relationship. And in this episode, we get to see some kind of thing there. It's a bit of a psychosexual relationship, a bit of dominance, a bit of submission going on. Anyway, it feels like she's beginning to crack under the pressure. Leyton comes to her and says, listen, Wilford and his team are coming. We've got this weather balloon that we're sending up to kind of make sure that Melanie's made it to the kind of weather station. If she connects with the weather balloon, we know she's fine. So they're coming over. And he's basically, what I said before about the chess pieces, he's basically making his move. He's trying to sort of get as many spies as he can into Wilford's establishment, into his kind of fortress. And she basically essentially sells a part of her soul. You see that she's got this like jagged sort of scar line down her wrist. And because what happened with Kevin, we can assume that the same thing happened to her. So maybe Wilford has this kind of perverse sexual thing about having people in his bathtub and making them kill themselves. It's a bit of a weird one.
He makes a point there, really, doesn't, of kind of saying, I saved you. I saved you. So I think you're right. I mean, what's very clear is Wilford's a sick puppy, as I like to refer to, a very sick puppy. And it's no coincidence that they had the same scenario with Miss Audrey as they did with Kevin. Was that his name, Kevin?
Kevin, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's kind of his judgment thing. Maybe that's his thing. It's kind of
I think it's more of a god complex. I think
it definitely is.
Got a true god complex going on. When he says he saved, I feel like Wilford has saved everyone on the train, which in a way he has.
That's what I mean. But what I'm more suggesting is kind of like I would assume, right, that there are more people on Big Alice who have the exact same scar.
Yeah,
because they may have failed him at whatever. He may have got them in the bath. He holds that much power over them that they do it. And then there's a certain few who he saves. Because kind of making this godlike kind of figure even more so because you're one of the chosen ones. I saved you.
Yeah. So I mean, if Darth Vader has his death grip, then Mr. Wilford has his kind of switchblade bathtub.
Yeah, which is
his way of,
fucked up in itself. But
so yeah, the kind of Cold War is continuing, and I mean that pun intended. With Leyton and Wilford, they're second guessing each other. They're sending each other messages. Leyton asks for his request to come over to party in the night car. We still got the B plot going on, which I'm not a fan of, I'll be honest. I was hoping in this episode that we'd get more information about the kind of insurgency that's happening between the Tailies and the kind of Wilford's sort of spies that he has. But it just kind of, Bess is just kind of doing the rounds, I guess.
I don't know. I think this episode, again, they're really pushing Bess.
But she's not really. No, but I think doing anything.
No, but I think what we are seeing is we're seeing her questioning herself, and she's like, I think that was probably one of the first scenes in the show was where she kind of she's following the brakeman or whatever you call them. I think he is brakeman, and she goes into I forget the name of the car, but it's almost like the shrine or the religious
Pastor Logan.
Yeah
he's
she has that moment, she breaks down and she has that moment with Pastor Logan. I think she's the obviously she's doing this investigation, but I think they're pushing her character towards a possible turn or a possible, I don't know. It was the second episode in a row as well on again, I'm not sure if it's the same in the States, but on Netflix when they showed it over here in Europe, the show starts with a suicide warning, even though we don't actually see a suicide. Obviously that might have been referring to the and I think it was referring to the bath scene, but it's becoming a theme. So this Bess questioning herself, I don't think maybe they'll go down the whole suicide route, because I think a lot of that was loneliness, which came to light when she was partying.
She parties hard.
But
parties hard.
I think we might see Bess questioning what side she's on, and we might see that struggle within Bess later on in the series.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I mean, there is a section where Leyton brings all the kind of people together before the party happens, and it's essentially this uneasy alliance that they all have. Like Ruth is sure that Leyton doesn't trust her. As you said, like Bess may be questioning her own beliefs. I'm gonna throw out a kind of. I think this Pastor Logan. I think there's something more insidious happening there. He kind of has the ability to say a lot of things without actually saying them, if you know what I mean. It's very easy. He could be some kind of cultish. I don't know. This is just pure conjecture.
No, I can see where you're going there totally.
I'm looking at him with a sidey sort of stink eye at the moment because
what are you up to?
Yeah, he's providing the kind of shoulder to cry on for Bess, but also at the same time, I think. If any new character that's introduced in a series, it's one of those things where, are you you're on the good side or on your bad side? you have characters like LJ, who also pops up again in this episode. And that's why I mean there's a lot of tertiary characters that haven't really been given much to do in the past, say 6 or since last season. They're kind of popping up now, and you can sort of see the seeds are being sown here for like their time to shine maybe later on. And we see that with LJ as well, where she's eavesdropping in Pike's dealings in the marketplace. So she's kind of gathering all this information, which you couldn't believe.
And making buddies with Alexandra as well.
And making buddies with Alex, yeah. But there was a very prominent sort of line where Alex says they're talking about, you know, because LJ's parents got killed in season 1, and Alex says, well, you know, Melanie's gone out and she could be dead. Mr. Wilford thinks she is, and she says, LJ says to her then, well, what do you think about that? And she's like, well, I shouldn't be saying this, and Wilford wouldn't like me to say it, but I kind of, you know, she basically confides in LJ, and you know LJ's going to use that at some point against her. It's kind of written in the stars, so to speak, of the little observational hut they're looking out of. So
yeah, and there was also the line of "We're not friends, best of enemies" kind of thing. It's like
frenemies. We're frenemies now.
And I think that is where they're going to play it, and I don't know if because I agree with you in regards to LJ's just, you know, she's up, and she's up to game. She's playing games and up to tricks, and she's got a plan, right? But Alexandra or Alex has come across as quite an intelligent character so far, and quite, you know, a strong character, to be fair. You know, obviously she's going through a lot of emotions as a young teenage girl kind of thing, but still, I would be disappointed if Alex fell for an LJ ploy or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I totally get, and in the same concept, you know, that her confiding in LJ and, you know, don't tell Wilford, you know. Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is because they're kind of the same age, and so far in Snowpiercer, I don't think there's many. Is Alex a teen? Would you say she? Well, I think she's like 19, isn't she? She's meant to be like. I think she's portrayed as like being 19 or early 20s at the least. And I think LJ's the same age.
So no, I think Alex is 17.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think they're meant to be portrayed as the same age, and in that respect, there's not many 17-year-olds running around the train. So you're going to naturally gravitate towards the kind of people in your kind of, you know, age group or whatever. Like we have the kind of, when the night car scene happens, you have the 2 Australians, you know, the Taylor and the one from Snowpiercer, and they're like, I thought I was the last Aussie, and they have like a little moment there where they're discussing, you know, everything going on. So yeah, I think it's just more the kind of case of old acquaintances meeting, because they all know each other from, you know, years ago, so to speak, and they're kind of reuniting in that respect. And sometimes there'll be new people that are meeting new people, and they just want to, you know, have fun and party, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, we're basically then another kind of section of this as well is Leyton's kind of plan. Josie, we find out with the Gwyneth Paltrow Fanny Goop heal frostbite, in a gesture of seemingly goodwill, Mr. Wilford sends over the doctors to treat all kind of patients with frostbite that fought Icy Bob, and we see essentially Josie kind of coming back into play again, where she's going to be taken off Snowpiercer onto Big Alice to be Leyton's eyes and ears on that scene. What did you think about that?
I didn't like, because it was almost just used as an excuse to Miles is back type thing. Yeah. You know, it seemed a little bit cheap, if I'm honest.
Yeah, he was shoehorned in, definitely.
Totally. That seems like a last minute, like it's. I'll be honest with you, I got the feeling with some of this, especially this, that was this like a last minute edit job? Did you write in some of this? You know, when you went after lockdown, because obviously my understanding is they had the bulk of season 2 filmed before COVID hit, and then obviously lockdown, and then they went back to kind of finish it off.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's been shoehorned in, like you said, like it's like a
just a little wedge of like,
I wouldn't be massively surprised if that's the only appearance of Miles in the whole series. You know, I get this feeling. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong
as well. But so far, it's very interesting to see that whenever we're at the front of Snowpiercer and you have the two engineers that are driving the train, we don't see Miles at all. So I don't think we will be seeing him unless there's some kind of power play. Either Wilford gains control of Snowpiercer and he's using him as a bargaining chip for Leyton. But at the moment, I don't know if it's just a case of exactly what you said there. Like he's just been kind of, maybe they had a few extra days and they brought him back from whatever he was shooting, and it was like, oh, we do have to actually explain to audiences why Miles hasn't been around for a while. And he's been referred to in other episodes, but like this was the first time we saw him.
And you noticed the only car that we haven't seen from season 1, maybe I'm wrong if it's the only one, but the only car that I can recall seeing in season 1 that we haven't seen in season 2 is the school.
Yeah, that's true. But then I suppose there's no really reason for it, is there?
But there's a nice, easy plot one. It's a nice way to kind of, if Miles then continues to be in the rest of the episodes, it is a nice, easy one where just, they might just open the next one where Leyton's just like, hey, Miles, I haven't seen you in a couple of days.
It would just be like a wave.
How's school be going?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's been really busy. We're doing extra lessons, which is what, and obviously
we're learning fractions this week.
And let's be honest, the chances are, they, sets are sets. And now that they've got the Big Alice set, the chances are that the school set has been demolished because it's not in this season.
No.
But it's a nice, easy get out for where's Miles been? Hey, how's school been? Oh, it's been great.
Yeah. So essentially, Wilford selects 3 crew members from Big Alice to come on board Snowpiercer to have a night that they'll remember. But once again, his kind of Jekyll and Hyde character type persona comes out, and he kind of warns them before they actually step on board that it's his night. Once again, everything, he's very possessive. Like, he's a very possessive man. Like, everything is his. Like, it's his train, it's his night. And not to really get too friendly with the Snowpiercer crew, because there's obviously, they could be exchanging information. We saw what happened to Kevin when he kind of gave up the information that they didn't have food. So they go along. The engineers basically turn around and say, okay, we're launching the weather balloon. If it makes contact, it's all great. And then Wilford discusses his plans to see Melanie's balloon pop in their faces. He really doesn't want there to be any kind of shred of evidence that they might be able to colonize outside, because this is his world. Once again, going with the God complex, this is his train. And then he gets, let's talk about that scene then. So Audrey sings Portishead's Glory Box, which is a nice little song in there that people will know. And she takes him into what do you call that room, really? What would you call it? The kind of treatment, night gallery, club, trauma room? I don't know.
I'd like a meditation type thing.
Type thing, yeah. And she asks him to open his heart and let her in. And he, has met it. And this happened to Leyton in the first series. This, I don't know if it's like a hypnotism thing.
Yeah, it is. That's the vibe I get, kind of hypnotizing type thing. Yeah.
So she's playing some Darren Brown mind trickery on him. But he remembers that, like years ago when the night car was more of a debauched club, I guess, if you will. But he obviously remembers the time when she cut her wrists, or he basically gave her the flick knife or the shaving blade, sorry, and she cut her wrists. And then it kind of goes a bit weird. He reaches for her, but not for comfort. He reaches to sort of touch her scar. And then you kind of get the sense that he's turned on by that. And then he's eating, is it lime or from her like a dog? Mango. And she's like feeding him like a dog. Zara comes in because Zara has become part of the hospitality crew now, which I thought was quite funny. But I suppose they're beefing up her role, really, aren't they, with old Zara? She can't just be sitting pregnant in the first class doing nothing. So
they needed an excuse to get her down into
But in all honesty, I got to say, from a writing perspective, it's kind of makes sense.
Smart. That's the smart way to do it. Yeah.
More involved now with like maybe Ruth. She'll be the go-between between Ruth and Leyton. But yeah, so there's a kind of Wilford subjugates himself. Like there's almost this kind of S&M type vibe to his, I guess his psychosexuality in that respect.
You're struggling for the words here, Tony, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying to get in my head like what was actually going on. In all honesty, because like we've known him to be this kind of powerhouse of a person, and I suppose it makes sense that someone like that wants to be submissive sometimes. So yeah.
Do you think he just really likes mango?
Maybe he really loves mango. Maybe he just loves that dribbling down his chin.
That's what I'm thinking. Like it was a mango for a reason.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He was
like, give it to me, or what did he say? He was like,
I need it.
I forget what it was, but then out comes a mango, and it's like, a man loves a mango.
Man loves mango. Who doesn't like mango? So yeah, as you said, like there's not really much in the way of action. Maybe because this episode, the previous episodes have been so action orientated, and now it's kind of stepping off the gas a little bit. That we're seeing the kind of pieces move on this ultimate game of.
It was a lot more psychological. This one. It was an awful lot to do with kind of and again as well, Miss Audrey kind of went into her history. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was good to see that because I know in season 1, like she was always this kind of person on the periphery. We didn't really know what was going on, and now we've understood a bit more about her. Which is kind of good, but also at the same time, I do feel like it's now getting to a point where we've got so many characters, we can't really invest time into learning all of their histories. I suspect the next episode will be very heavily Melanie orientated.
I don't think we're seeing Melanie for a few episodes, mate. I was expecting the finale of this episode when that tense moment where it was like, is the signal going to get switched on? I thought they were going to cut to, her struggling,
I thought that as well. Like she'd be struggling.
But they didn't. So we're not seeing Melanie till they're supposed to be collecting her.
Well, one could argue that who's to say that was Melanie that made contact?
Shit.
Oh. So really, that was in essence the actual overview of the episode. Is there any questions that you have, Brendan?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch upon my earlier point that kind of Leyton, I could kind of. So at the very start of the episode, he's in first class sipping coffee at breakfast, and just that in itself was just like, really? Like, I know you're living in first, but it was just him dining with the first class.
You don't believe it, or you think that's a bit of a kind of slap in the face to the Tailies and everything?
Well, that, and it kind of, I don't know, his characters, he's making a few conflicted choices right now, and I don't know, especially this episode, it was the same one, it was just weird. Maybe it's just... But it was weird seeing him putting a suit on and wearing a suit and dressing all smart, and it was kind of like,
it's play time.
I know, but what I thought, I'll be completely honest with you, but it's one of those scenes where it's like, I looked at it and it visually kind of, because I think Zara was dressed, it was when she came down and she was dressed in the uniform, the teal hospitality
uniform, yeah.
And I was just like, if you paused this and took a screenshot of it and showed it to someone who had never seen Snowpiercer, it would not tell a story. And I understand that's quite a little thing, but it was just at the start of the episode where he was sat in first class dining, sipping coffee out of a China coffee cup, and it was like, really? Like, Leyton's supposed to be the man of the people. He shouldn't want to drink coffee up there. he should be down in, getting some eggs and whatever, bacon or noodles or ramen or whatever they have in third class, or do you know what I mean? Back eating a bowl of soup. And
maybe that's how Wilford's gonna convert him. Maybe that's the kind of plot thread going on, that because Zara is in the first class now with the pregnancy and whatnot, the hope of the future, so to speak. Maybe Wilford, because Wilford's all about opulence. He's all about the kind of the big shiny. Maybe he'll kind of see that happening, and he'll kind of turn on Leyton and say, like, well, you can be a man of the people, or you can rule like I do. So,
yeah, another question I had, which is more your opinion on something. Did you not think, the scene where they were waiting, the balloon was launched and so on and so forth? Do you not think Wilford was a bit open about, I really hope Melanie dies and this fails?
I think that was because there was a couple of, I was intrigued to see if Leyton, when they had the confirmation of Leyton was looking at Wilford, but you don't really see the camera. It was a little bit smoke and mirrors, because you didn't really see who was looking at who. I think it was overdone with the fact that, when Wilford pops the balloon, he's like, oh, sorry. And then you see Alex potentially looking at him. You think she's looking at him. But then Leyton was just kind of like looking out into the distance, and it was a little bit weird. Yeah, I was expecting some kind of...
No, see, I noticed Leyton was laughing. I noticed that because I kept a close eye on it, because as well, it was just like, I just thought, in this room full of all the people who have been on Snowpiercer, and he's just like, yeah, because it's not about his argument with his relationship with Melanie or us and them. It's about, holy shit, we might survive. The world might be coming back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I hope this fails. Is that not... I just thought that's a bit silly, because
Well, he wants control, doesn't he? I mean, that's
I know, but
about, so.
No matter what your outlook on life is, and no matter whether you're a Wilford, you could be a Wilford fanatic, but are you saying you don't want to get off the train and recolonize and start again?
Well, here's my predictions then. I think there's going to be plans afoot from Wilford's side to kind of create an atmosphere as to why, like, to say that they don't need to leave the train. Even if Melanie's data comes back and it says, yep, this area is a kind of hot spot, we can kind of colonize here. I think between that time, he's going to be using this to now put his master grand scheme into effect, and he'll kind of turn around and, for whatever reason, say, you don't have to leave the train. We can live here as a society again, and everything like that. I don't know. That's my prediction anyway. But I do think this episode as well tries to kind of emphasize the tension between Wilford supporters and the Tailies, if you will.
Yeah, of course. That's something we missed. You had the Tailies going in hard on the Breakmans, man.
Yeah, I think they're Breechmen. I think the guys
Breechmen, you're right. The Breakmans,
the ones that actually go out to
the
into the cold.
The Breakmans are like the police type ones, which Bess was a brakeman. You're right, and they're Breechmen. You're spot on. You're spot on.
Kind of the firefighters of Snowpiercer, so to speak.
Yeah, but I apologize to all those Breechmen out there.
Yeah, there was. I mean, you could argue that this possibly has some kind of political of what's going on in today's society, shall we say. But this is a TV program. I want to be entertained. I don't want to be preached about,
but listen. The whole concept of the show is based on class and class systems and conflict of them, and exactly that. So that's the concept of the show. So if you don't want that thrown in your face, you might want to stop watching, because it's gonna,
maybe I will, Brendan.
Listen,
maybe this will be it. This will be the last episode.
I genuinely no, but that's my point. It's going to be ramped up. Do you not think that no matter what world there is a huge is it Boon Jong Ho? Is that how you would pronounce his name?
Yeah,
Boon Jong Ho.
Mm-hmm.
All of his work has always been very political, even if he's done supernatural, sci-fi, whatever it may be.
Yeah, just look at Parasite. I mean, that's
that's his kind of actually able just to make a film on that subject, as opposed to, hey Hollywood, hey Harvey Weinstein, I've got a really cool idea about, and there's this comic book, and I've written a script based on it about a train in a ice age that goes around the world, and they're like, yeah, you sold me on training an ice age, and you've got whatever, what's his name, you've got Captain America signed up for it as well. I'm in. Take my money, make the movie. Whereas it was movies like Snowpiercer that helped him make Parasite and get it, you know, worldwide distribution and so on and so forth. So this is always going to be about class.
Yeah, the hierarchy of
totally, and I kind of mentioned it before with my kind of prediction where I can see a vote going against Leyton and being, we're definitely seeing signs of, you know, you know, a lot of people will look at this as, you know, obviously Wilford is Donald Trump, and he's, you know, he's trying to rile up, you know, his support, and he's trying to turn the people against each other. And
as long as I get to see a guy in a Viking, you know, outfit, just, you know, that's great. That's all I need to see.
What I really want to see, and this is my hope, because you know, and I want the final scene, to be Big Bob, Icy Bob, Frankenstein, fighting Big Josie, Frankenstein's bride, because they're gonna skin grass.
In this kind of metaphor, she'd be like the mummy at the moment, but
right now. But she's eventually going to be the Frankenstein's bride, and there's just this huge battle between these two like mutilated things battering each other. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be Josie's going to end up,
Just as a side note, because you mentioned Icy Bob and Josie and getting the kind of goop on her and all that kind of stuff, there was one moment of humor in this, which I thought it took me by surprise, because, you know, humor isn't really done on Snowpiercer, but it's with the doctors. So when they're on Snowpiercer and they're kind of applying the goop onto people, and the doctor of Snowpiercer asks, you know, what is this? And the male doctor, is it Hayward, Dr. Hayward? The Hayward doctor, He goes, oh, it's like a hydro-based bio, and then like he gets a look from the other one. He's like, and he just kind of like just trails off, and it's like doesn't explain it at all. I was just like, I had to kind of stop and rewind it to kind of see. I was like, did I hear that right? Did he just kind of explain what it was and just kind of? And that did make me laugh a little bit actually. So that was a bit of humor, a bit of respite from the.
In a really and in a really dark episode, man. That was a dark episode. That was what I would describe as it. Maybe that's why I wasn't so fond on it, because it was quite slow. It was slower paced, but there wasn't much nice in it. There wasn't much kind of.
I don't think there's going to be much levity going further, Brendan. I think it's only going to get darker, maybe.
Yeah. Do you know what I did like as well? Sorry, I keep on going on because we've been going on about this and we need to wrap up. But I always like learning about the outside. So I really liked when and I don't know his name. I'm looking for it now on the list of the cast. But the Breechmen, when he spoke about and it was the bridge they were going over the ice thing, and it was like that's how I knew Wilford. I built bridges for him.
Oh, when he built them in Serbia, sort of thing.
Yeah, in Serbia, I was a 14-year-old boy, and I and it kind of just I like the concept of the world, so I like hearing about, and even that builds into the concept of, Wilford was preparing this, and the building of the bridge, and it's all the concept of the building of the track. I know I said in loads of the pods in the first episode, I'd love if they'd done a lot of people hate
like a flashback episode.
I'd love a flashback episode. I
don't think it requires it, to be honest.
It doesn't. I would have preferred even if they added just the odd flashback here or there, and I don't mean flashback overkill. So flashback. Well,
you did kind of get a flashback in this episode when Wilford's kind of explaining his.
Yeah, but it's the same. The only time we ever see flashbacks is when we see our characters go in.
Why are you so obsessed with flashbacks and flash forwards, Brendan? What's it with you in flashbacks?
I'm just intrigued by the world. As I said, I really even just the fact that the Breechman was talking about building the bridge, it was kind of like, that's quite cool. I love the concept of the world, and you're hearing about Wilford previously, and building bridges and
well, as you said, we have been rambling for a while now, so let's wrap it up. Brendan, why don't you give us our little send out, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Guys, if you want to listen to any of our stuff, your first port of call is YouTube. Just search Inside Your Screen on YouTube. You'll find all our stuff. All our podcasts are there. Tony does game reviews. He specializes in independent horror games, but just independent games in general. He's got loads of movie reviews on there. We've got all our podcasts on there. If you want to just listen to the audio of the podcast, where you can just download it, we're on all the major platforms, iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're everywhere where you can get a podcast. Again, just search Inside Your Screen. And if you want to get in contact with us, the best place is Twitter. And again, at Inside Your Screen. But this time it's with a UR, so at Inside Your Screen. We'd love to hear feedback on our shows. We'd love to people to get engaged with us, so please do.
All right, and we'll see you on the next episode of Snowpiercer. Bye-bye.
Inside your screen.